Ears listen to them. You are out of this structure once and for all. You will never ask these questions once again. Oh, what is there behind and beneath those abstractions that Krishnamurti throws at people? Is there anything at all? As a mind view, as a mind concept, as a mind vision, as a mind image, or even as a sanguine expectation, they sound marvelous. They're very charming words. If you really knew it, I don't think you would even want it. It is a dynamite. It isn't a thing to play with. Do I know it? Well, what a question. I really don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Isn't? If I tell you it is the same, what value has it? If I tell you it isn't the same, it has no value either. But why put these questions to ourselves? What is the way of knowing it, whether be it his or anybody else's? You have absolutely no way of knowing it. By some luck, you stumble into it. It will be a completely and totally bewildering and puzzling sort of affair. You won't even bother to compare it with anybody else's. It isn't going to be the same. It isn't going to come about the way you imagine it. Spiritual awakening or whatever you call it isn't going to come about in the way you imagine it. It will come about contrary to all your imaginings. It will come about in a very simple and quite an unexpected way. Well, anyway, what exactly it is? Can you tell me what it is that you are seeking, or that you want it, or that you are trying to find out? Can you tell me?
Franchissant du coup l'abîme qui sépare, au regard des philosophes, le physiologique du psychologique, je dirais que l'excès, s'il conduit parfois à l'écœurement, mène aussi souvent à l'amour.
To change the entire structure and thought of civilization isn't an easy thing. That means the very foundations on which the superstructure of our civilization rests must be shattered. That can't be done very easily, and that can't be done without a change in our intellectual and religious outlook. And the very educational system must change. But it is easy to say all that. Unless an individual changes, there isn't going to be any change at all. And even that change must be one without volition. And that requires tremendous understanding. Now let us see whether this is working. It seems to be working all right, because the way this needle is moving shows that this is in perfect good condition. This seems to be working all right now. Don't you think so? What's the matter with this? Every now and then it goes off.
Note 04607. This is to test Philip's recording.
If it were that simple, with all the descriptions we have in the Hindu and Buddhist scriptures, everyone in India would have been a great yogi. Oh, surely we have 8 million sadhus wandering all over the country. There are so many claimants to what you call spiritual enlightenment, with the result that you don't know who is actually enlightened or who is really and genuinely an authentic soul who has this spiritual awakening. Western disciples seem to be the measure of the greatness of a spiritual teacher these days. They have tremendous following in Europe, in America, and all over the world. Trotting around the globe, talking to these people has become very fashionable. Speaking. Do you know what it is? Was it not Shelley who said this? I think it's one of those who had thought for today. The life of a man of virtue and talent who should die in his 30th year is, with regard to his own feelings, longer than that of a miserable priest-ridden slave who dreams out a century of good.
Well, these are all the artificial problems he's discussing there. They are not his problems. I have no problems. You understand? I have no questions of any kind at all. So if somebody asks me a question, what am I to do? You see, that is not my question. I put that question to myself. All right? And then I try to explore. For the sake of the questioner, see, because this is an artificial question, I explore, assuming for a moment that it is my question. So when you ask me a question, I am in a state of not knowing. I really don't know the answer. There is no answer to this question at all. So the whole process of exploring this question with you is to take you along and put you, see, ultimately it brings me to the same point. It's a complete circle and puts me back in a state of not knowing. I start with this in a state of not knowing. I explore the question for the sake of exploring the whole field of from which the question springs up. And then you see, I come back, you are left there. You see, into the same state of not knowing. I'm already in a state of not knowing, and so I am in a state of silence again. And you are caught up in this, the intellectual explanations. And so you try to move along with, let me, I have to use you, see.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I have to find out some way, see, not that, but anyway, see, you stop there, you cannot take the lead. I don't know if I make this, does it make any sense?
Yes, it will.
There are no questions. There are no questions at all. What happens, see, is the questioner disappears. So there are no questions at all except the question how to go there, is to the railway station.
Yeah.
What is the fare from here to Geneva?
Yes.
Why I want to go to Geneva? These are all irrelevant questions.
Yes.
There must be a reason for me to go to Geneva, to consult a doctor or to do something, to take the plane to India or some such thing. So these are all the questions relating to the everyday life of an individual. But all the other questions are not there for me because there is no questioner, there is no self as you put it. There is no center. Wanting to find out all these, all the answers to the questions he has. This is the difficulty, and there is a communication gap, not that there is a difficulty of language. We discussed the same subject. I asked him, you see, how do I express myself? If somebody comes with a question, I have the difficulty of communicating with him. And so he went on describing, one day the science will discover a new language, and in the meantime I am dead and gone. There is nothing to communicate even, you see, to make the individual understand that this is a silly thing to put questions, that there are no answers. It's not that, in the sense that metaphysical questions have no answers, but all these questions are irrelevant. There are no questions for me. And so why you put these questions? Why is he bothered about these things at all? They are of no importance at all to the human being, because since he is not living, he is thinking about these problems. If he is living the life, he would ask, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? It's an intellectual question. It's a frivolous question. And all the answers they give to that question, whether be it from the point of view of science or from the religious point or philosophical point, You see, they are frivolous answers. They may sound very very profound.
Yes. But actually, it's what he says is not serious. He has his own terminology.
Yes.
That everything that is not related to the relevant
Yes.
is not serious.
Mhm.
So what is relevant and what is irrelevant? He says everything that is perceived by the observer or the experiencer is irrelevant until the self disappears.
Yes.
And so he leads everything up to the point where the self disappears,
Mhm.
except has he experienced it. I don't get the feeling that he has
No, you
changed.
see, if you come to that
That's the
point,
intellectual
you see, no, you see, if it were not an intellectual approach only, you see, if there is something behind that, you see, he would communicate with you something else.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
he is in a silence, and that silence has, you see, this electrical charges, and it will silence you for a few seconds at least. You understand?
Yes.
The thoughts will come down to how shall I put it? They slow down. In you also. That is the purpose of discussion. What is the purpose of discussion? Not throw words at you. You are more intelligent than I am. You are very clever. You have a tremendous command of English language. And ideas you have read, you see, thousands of books. And so where am I? So the most important thing is, you see, to understand that this discussion on this level is not going to lead us anywhere.
Right.
If I'm very intelligent, very clever, and
It can, yes.
I can lead you intellectually and make you see this. And so what? Where am I? And where are you?
Where are you? Yeah.
So the most important thing is you don't have to go through all that process at all. And I don't know. It is a very interesting thing for me to meet you. It would be very difficult for him to grasp this, you see, that this dialectical thinking about thinking itself isn't going to lead one anywhere.
Anywhere at all. In
And
fact,
perhaps he will be a propagandist of Krishnamurti in his own way, because yes, he
with
may have
another
had
lingo, with yet another lingo, an intellectual scientific lingo.
basically it is the same.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
a
the same.
semantic
Yeah.
lingo, but it is putting into science, well, with a scientific rational mind, he is using that approach to arrive at where he thinks Krishnamurti has arrived.
Has arrived.
Where he thinks he has arrived.
He doesn't know what it is.
But how has he presented it?
No.
Has he shown any signs of it?
No.
That's the whole thing. Is he living it?
No. Once Krishnamurti told me, sir, people will find out, you see, that you have nothing. You know, you can give lectures on this, you see, much more brilliantly than I can do. But people will find out you have nothing. Because what is important is what is there behind. You may not be able to speak at all.
At all.
Sit silent, and that
Yes,
silence influences the man.
Yes, yes.
There seems to be some difficulty in it.
Well, this is, for example, Sri Ramana Maharshi arrived after 20 years of silence. He had to learn how to speak again.
How to speak again. And he also
And then he sat quietly.
and he read a book in order to understand what is all this funny business, and
yes.
that you know colored his mode of expression. He fell back on the Hindu traditional phrases.
Yes.
It must be said to the credit of Krishnamurti that he has come with this strikingly original approach,
That's right. Yeah.
you know, to this problem
Yes.
for the first time.
Yes.
And it will destroy, it will help so many people to pick up this new lingo and express it with, that is not very simple. We have hundreds and thousands of profound Hindu scholars. Radhakrishnan, you can't beat him. He has interpreted the Hindu religion all over the world to the masterminds in a very convincing, logical, rational way. But where does it take one? To write another book like that, or to prepare a thesis and get a PhD?
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Or if you create a society like the Krishnamurti Society, they will all be the propagandists.
All over again. It's
All over
all
again, the
repeating the same
same.
organization.
That means you are destroying the very quality and the essence of the insight of Krishnamurti into the whole human problem. So that always happens when a man talks, you know. That's one. It encases, it entombs the very essence
That's
of
right.
your being. But what, after all, is this? It is not a new discovery. It is not it is not something that comes from outside. When the whole process comes to an end, the whole search comes to an end. Not that you would arrive at a point or a destination, but the search comes to an end because the seeker disappears. You call him the seeker, the perceiver, the observer, the experiencer, or the self, or whatever word you want to use. They are all the variations of the same entity inside of
Yes.
it. So when that entity comes to an end, what is left is, you see, is a body. You know, pure is the physical body, and the senses operate in a tremendously sensitive way, because the mischievous fellow inside dictated what you should see, what you should not see, what you should like, what you should not like. This is beautiful, that is ugly, this is right, this is bad, and so on. He destroyed the sensitivities of the senses. And they say, I think I told you, the ophthalmologists tell us that the eye takes in only 2% of what the eyes see.
yes.
So 98% is gone,
It's gone.
wasted.
Yeah.
And
Where is
similarly
it?
listening.
Where is it?
Where is it?
Where is it?
Where is it?
And they also tell us that the greatest genius uses only 1/10
1/10.
of the human brain's capacity.
Yeah.
The greatest genius.
Yeah.
What happens to the other 9/10?
You see, now
Well,
what happens is the animal brain, what they call, that which we have in common with the animals, this undergoes mutation. It is not the mind. Mind is
No.
only one part. To me, the mind is a very difficult thing to define and to describe. It is not only the mental activity. Mental activity is only a part of it.
Mhm.
But what about the nervous system? What about the brain? The whole physical body has to change, because you see, it cannot function in exactly the same way. You see, when this happens, so the whole thing changes.
There's nothing to it, just John. Of course, you can't use it in this context. But if you mean, you know...
It is in a way.
Is it?
It is in a way.
Is it?
Yes, it is in a way.
Because the thing cannot be guaranteed
No,
by
but
any method. There's no way that will bring you 100% guarantee, no matter what you do, that you will get this thing. Therefore, he has to speak of something like luck.
Well, it's not
is
only
there a
that.
100% guarantee that if the fruit is ripe, it falls?
No, it's
No.
not like that at all.
There are no guarantees of any kind, as a matter of fact.
Well,
But Jung...
I'm only using your words, but what I mean here is, look here, Eugene, as you know your life, you know you had tremendous sort of...
I don't think that has led me to this point. Even.
You don't?
No. Even the Upanishads.
What he had tremendous luck, or
Yes,
coincidence?
You know,
throughout life.
Well, no.
Hot luck.
Throughout my life.
Well,
Like,
you see, the family he was born in, the Shankar Terrier in
The whole
inspiring
background,
in Egypt,
yes.
Shivananda.
Developing for
hundreds of Brahmins
has also the same
same
thing.
background.
That's right.
So it doesn't mean, you see, not only if there is any such thing as a spiritual life or material, it's silly to make this distinction between material and spiritual life. Even the material life, if you want to use the raw mundane life, or whatever phrase you want to, whatever word you want to use, there is no guarantee that by duplicating the events in the life of an individual, you will come to the top.
No, of course not. No, of course not.
We all read the autobiographies and biographies of all the successful people by following the same
Path.
the same path.
Doesn't
But
necessarily lead
this
to
is
that.
a pathless reality. This is a pathless reality. You will discover. This is. I think that is how all the systems in India have come into existence. For instance, the yoga system. The student asked him, "You see, you are in a state of samadhi. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. But how did you step into this? And what brought you into this state?" And then he said, all this, you see, the eightfold, 8 methods, you know, the yoga, the pranayama, meditation, and so on and so on and so on. That didn't lead me anywhere. Somehow, by grace of God, You see, it you didn't use the word love.
That's a modern.
Who are you quoting now?
This is yoga, Yoga Sutras. And they also have this simile. See, something like you see the crow perching on the branch and the fruit falling down.
But
You see, why it happens, you see, you don't know.
No, but usually if there must be inexpressible qualities and forces in that which make it ready.
Yes, there's the inner life of a man that is not visible to his closest associates or friends, and this we miss in biography, autobiography largely.
The most important thing, nobody ever took me very seriously, you know. They all thought that I was a very frivolous sort of fellow and very irresponsible and didn't give a damn to anything, that I was not at all serious, you know. But there was some kind of a seriousness inside of me, an earnestness, a determination to find out what this is all about, you know.
Right.
All of the time.
All throughout,
All
you see,
throughout, yes.
all throughout, from the childhood, you see.
Yes.
See, that was part of my being, you know. What is this at all? You see, the people who are around me were all frauds. You see, marvelous characters. I use the word fraud in a different sense. And not the one who defrauds somebody, but they defraud themselves first,
That's the first.
and then you see defraud others, you know. They kid themselves and kid others. No. You have to delude yourself to successfully delude others. Hello, sir. Come on.
Is that all right?
Oh, yes, it's all right.
Well, then this may have been.
I didn't want to disturb your privacy, but I see you don't have any.
Sit down. Obviously.
I rang up from
Sit down.
Geneva this morning and said I'm coming, and then it was.
She will sit there.
But Eugene, I think that is there isn't luck in that. I mean that steady sort of.
And also, you see, at the same time, an equal determination, you see, not to pay any attention to the mentally induced states of experiences. How deep they were. You see, they didn't mean anything to me, even this mental experience, you know, the...
You mean so-called spiritual
What is
experience?
what
all
you had,
spiritual
if they were less than
experiences.
its complete
Yes.
transformation, you paid no attention
I
to them
paid
at
no
all.
attention at all.
Visions or...
Nothing.
Now, didn't you have sort of big experiences in sleep? You
All
must
the
have-
awarenesses, levels of consciousness, you see, and astral...
No, I'm not
stuff.
betting, but I mean sort of experience.
and also mentally induced states of samadhi and and so on and so on and so on, and also the some aspect of mutation, if I may use this, within the field of thought. You know, that changes the whole thing. That changes your character first. That changes your whole way of life, your way of thinking. You know,
I'm sorry, I just missed your cue there. To
this
deny all
experience,
this.
the experience of what is being
Yeah.
said there by
Yeah.
Krishnamurti.
Yeah.
You know, it's within the field of thought,
Yes.
has a tremendous effect. That is the beginning, you know.
Yes, yes.
That is the beginning.
Yes.
And so your whole outlook, your way of life changes. That is how all the conversions in the field of
Yes.
religion, we all have converts, you know.
Yes.
A very aggressive man all of a sudden becomes a very quiet, and he's a softy overnight. And as you were telling us the other day, the prostitute, what is her name?
Angela of Foligno.
Yes, and suddenly, see, overnight, she changed her way of life, and she didn't even know how to write. I think she picked up something, and she wrote poetry, and that became the basis and inspiration of Dante. So these are all the conversions, you know, the mystical experience. I have had several mystical experiences,
In the West,
religious
it's up there.
experiences. Yes, it is in the field of thought.
The man becomes converted, he becomes a
Converted.
good Christian or something like that.
Yes,
Before his life was dissolute.
yes.
And there's no idea in the West of something further, total transformation.
Total transformation.
As long as he's converted, the priest blesses him
Yes.
and says he's saved because he now believes.
Naturally,
And
you
leads
got
a good life. And there's never any teaching that this is nothing.
nothing.
But there's
You can
nothing-
write commentaries. You will be a marvelous exponent of Krishnamurtian lingo. But the variation of the same, which is of no good to you, you see. Perhaps you will interest a few more people in this thing. You see, well, we have all these commentaries and marvelous exponents of the Hindu religion.
The Hindu religion has always
interpretation.
been tolerant, yes?
Tolerant.
Now, if somebody were to step out of the total structure of the church,
He's out.
this would never,
He-
while the church had power,
They will
for
throw him
hundreds
out.
of years, this would never be tolerated.
They will throw him out.
Not throw out. The man would be burned at the stake.
All right, yes.
Was a heretic. It was never allowed in the West,
What's
you see.
more, you see, Western philosophy and Christian thought teaching has got the individual enthroned at the center. It hasn't got even the essence there that that's a false sort of fabrication of thought. The
Okay.
individual is the unit,
Yes.
and you become
Yes.
a great individual. But the
The individual must be saved. The I must be
the I
saved.
must be saved.
Yes,
I
but
mean,
not
the concept
to
isn't
do away with the
there.
I.
There's no questioning. It must become a bigger I and a better I and a more devoted.
Just a virtual, a more believing I.
Mm.
Yes.
This is why I feel it's much more difficult for Western minds unless they've thrown it all out.
It's a little easier because the church has, after so many hundreds of years, lost its power, has relaxed
It's not
its
only
grip.
the
And now
church.
they're breaking out. Young people are beginning to ask questions, and now there's a chance for something to happen. Before it was totally impossible for over 1,000 years.
Yes.
Even now, you see, even now, you mean to say that any monk in the Ramakrishna Math, if by some chance gets into
It
his
doesn't have the
state,
power it had, sir.
no,
40,
if
50
if
years
any
ago.
monk is inside
They
that
step
movement,
out of the order now.
he
young
will
monks.
step out, he has to step outside the order, out of the order.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
You
certainly.
see, there's nothing there.
Nothing there.
Young people step out of the church, out of the religion of their fathers, everywhere, in all countries of the world, not just in the West.
You see, a realized man, if you want to use that word, has this power. That's all. He cannot create another teacher. You understand? Nobody can do it for you at all. You see, nobody can do this for you. It's a thing which which nobody can give it to you. It's impossible.
But you...
There's no question of sharing.
No.
You know, this talking, you see, as I told you, it encases the whole thing, the very essence of it, and this talk misleads you. And you create more talkers, expounding the variations of the same thing. That's how we have all this.
Well, then what you have is the phenomenon of absolute lack of communication.
Actually, there is no
Since there is
communication.
no ground on which people can
There
really
can't be any communication between you and me at
Yeah,
all.
At all.
Period. You see, any attempt on my part to communicate
Been saying that all my life.
is only how shall I put it? It is useless.
Mm.
And yet, why do I do it? You
Yeah,
should
why?
very well ask me.
Well, irrelevant, as Bohm would say.
Why do I do it? Because this is the way to live. You see, why don't these people live this way? You know?
But look here.
And it's the very talk destroys the essence.
Yeah.
The beauty of it, the quality of it. This experience you don't have, let us call this experience, but you don't have, and so what you can and will do is only to interpret this in terms of your own words. This I cannot, I think, I've given this simile, Sir Arthur Killer Couch makes a statement something like this. If you can possibly tell somebody how to tie a knot, you know, without using any gestures, without any movement on your part, very successfully, and make him, you see, tie this knot, that means you have mastered the English language, he said.
Just thinking about it would be really difficult.
Huh?
That'd be
Just
really
thinking
difficult.
about it.
Yes.
You know, it's extraordinarily difficult, this thing.
Mhm.
The same is true here.
But do you really, really feel that it was some sort of chance anyhow, and that the cumulative impact of this, particularly this force of your inquiry, don't you feel that led to an inevitability of it? Because
Yes,
of
but do
pressure?
people have the,
Well, yeah,
that,
that's the-
huh?
that's the
Do they
point.
have it, you see?
Yes.
When he talks of passion, you misinterpret it in some other terms, you know. It's an intellectual question with many people.
And what's more, the questions...
And yet I did nothing to do anything about it. except trying various experiments in my own way and rejecting them all, including Krishnamurti's approach. Krishnamurti and Lingo didn't interest me at all because it was, to me, it is something similar to that of our own way of approach. Maybe that stood, you see, in the way of my understanding. But what is there to understand? First, we don't know what it is. This is, I can speak, let's leave Krishnamurti out. You don't know what this is. You understand? That is the difficulty. No matter what I say about life, after all, what I am left with is the living quality of this body. The living quality of this body.
Of this being.
Of this being. You say, all right, you see, the body, you still object to the word body, but this body is not an ordinary body. When once you see the mechanism that is directing the body is put out of place or possession, you see, this body becomes different. This becomes the instrument of the cosmic energy. You know, something descends on you. This is the only thing that descends on you. And that descends on you, it affects anything around you at that particular moment. If somebody were here, it would certainly affect him. He may not be...
You mean in these special moments?
Special moments. You see, when this silence, the silent beat descends on you, you will certainly affect. When I mentioned this to him, it is difficult in large groups. That is true. I'm using the word constellation. You see, to constellate this silence, is the only way. But that, you see, people use it as a drug. You know, you come year after year to listen to the talk because it's very stimulating. It has become a stimulating thing.
And a comforting thing.
Comforting thing. And this will be more comforting, you know, to sit in a peaceful atmosphere and forget your worries for a while.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take one anywhere.
Well, I saw through all that last year.
Yeah.
I broke through that far, but then, of course, how far could I go afterwards?
There's
What you brought out this afternoon seems to me terribly significant, this lifelong, insistent inquiry. You know. Maybe, I don't think that's very common.
Well, that you can't
Not-
say, really.
No.
You don't know how common or how uncommon it is. There may be many people who pursue with fervor, intensity, depth, this very thing and never arrive at it.
It's at the same time what you say, fervor, intensity, depth, were not there inside of me.
Even,
Yeah.
you see.
At the same time, it wasn't an intellectual question. The whole being, you see, was that question. You know? My whole being was that question and that question alone. And when this came in, you see, this is violent. It comes in a very violent way. It is not.
So we've heard. Yes.
It comes in a very violent way.
Yes.
You know, nature's ways are nature's way of producing revolutions is not a
Not mild.
not as the dove descending on your head. No, it isn't. It isn't. It's a very violent thing.
Well, at least it was kind enough to put you in a nice quiet place like this with a few decent friends around.
Ultimately, but he went through a very bad period, a tough one. Earlier.
Yes.
I was living in Gstaad at the time, and I used to go for a walk from here back to Gstaad. I'd stay here till almost 11 o'clock, and really late sometimes, and by the bedside, I'd go for walks back and look at the stars. It was very clear that last summer.
Semantics, you know, you are abstracting something and presenting.
I think what Michelle is trying to find out is there an actual physical recognition of light hitting the retina?
No.
Waves hitting the inner ear? and
No.
I mean, not the actual fact of the light hitting.
No,
Because the sound on his retina, even if no one is there, there is a sound hitting his retina, his inside ear.
That's all.
But it's there.
No.
But for us,
Do you mean to say that I am listening to the sound? No.
there is a sound.
There is the sound, that's all there is.
But there's vibration and temper too.
Huh?
You can't say
That is the physiological explanation. How do you
Oh, you just gave an explanation.
That's all.
Oh, so you don't perceive it?
No. Just a sound.
No, I haven't.
There is just a sound, and why do you say it is a sound? Because it is the ear, you see, that is recording this sound. What it is, you see, it's not my question whether it is Beethoven's ninth.
We were not talking about the same thing.
All sounds, you see, that's all are the same to me. This, you see,
Yeah, I know.
All sounds, no matter how musical it is or how absurd it is, or the chorus of cats there, you see, or what is his name?
But that was not my question at all, so let's forget my question.
So when I'm when I'm not able to distinguish these sounds, when I want to, yes, there is, you see, I'm not a boob, isn't that the word? Or a moron. I'm not that dumb, you see, it's there for me, you see. If I want to stand there and enjoy, you see somebody playing violin, I can enjoy, there is an enjoyment. And all the time this is this particular note, that is this is a master playing this, it's not there, you see, it's a pure sound played by an artist. You see, if you look at a picture, you see, it has its effect on you. Not that somebody who is evaluating it, there is no mental activity at all, unless there is a need for a mental activity. I don't know, does it make sense? Do I make it clear?
In other words, you're kind of like a man I used to know who wore a hearing aid. And when there was something that he didn't want to hear or noise, he would just very quietly turn it off. And in a way, your realization or
it's quite the opposite.
word.
Became blue, I think. Yes.
From here?
Yes. That's a mystic chair.
Listen, you dear, haven't
What do you want to consecrate this now?
Haven't you got any power to sort of, after all, look here?
Any what?
What value
Hasn't he
has...
got any power?
Yes.
Can't he give his friends a hand? I mean,
Yes, I can give, but it's of no value at all to you.
how do you know?
Yes, because I know the violent nature of this power.
Well, I was supposing we're prepared to, so to say.
I don't think you are. You don't want this, I tell you. You don't want this. What you want is a totally different thing.
Namely, what do you
What you want is a totally different thing. The idea you have of this state of
Yeah.
being is totally unrelated to this actual state of being.
Well,
So,
never...
no matter how long I talk, I will never be able to communicate to you what actually is this state of being. I don't know what to say. Shall we call it the state of
No,
being?
that I believe, of course, I believe that. But is it impossible, you see, for you really to, by some push, giving a push or something, some damn thing? You see, I don't think it's so matter anyhow, one can only speak for oneself. It's surely one doesn't know what it is, and it would be foolish to, I'm not imagining. But what you do see is that the state of being as it is, you know that experience I had, I read a little bit of it, it's very clear to me that that's a contained, well, a capsule, I use the word, as something that is shut off from the eternity. Now, if it's sort of chance-like, can't someone who's, like you say, be a catalyst at least? Can't you give a shove or be a catalyst? Or
Maybe, but you see, here I am not completely shut off from the eternity.
You are not, no.
I am part of the eternity.
Yes, but I said we realize we are, or I realize the I is. Now, what's beyond, I don't know. And
There is no beyond, that's what I'm saying. There is no beyond. It is this beyond that is creating the whole mischief with us. There is no beyond at all. So you will not accept that.
It's here and now.
It is there inside of you,
Yes.
right now. The only thing you see, to do is to bring that, you see, the mischief maker inside of you, somehow to, you see,
to an end.
to an end. Somehow.
Somehow. Now what I'm asking you here, can't you by some power or
The loosening,
give a push or something to it?
That's
No?
It depends on you.
Oh, it's
if
a
you're
silly
ready,
question, I
but you
suppose,
can't
really,
know.
but still, I mean...
You can't know and you can't
When you are
know.
looking for a power or an agency that is outside of yourself,
there is no outside.
there is no
agency.
outside from inside yourself.
As long one is looking for an agency outside
Yes.
or looking beyond as if something exists this
You will
beyond.
be deluded and deceived.
Yes. So no matter what is a man who is in that state is also interpreted in terms of the beyond. The whole edifice of our thinking is a worthless thing. It has no meaning at all. It has no meaning at all. It has no meaning at all. You can use them. Well, what do you want me to use? I don't have words. The word is, the beginning of the word or the beginning of the thought dates back to I don't know how many centuries. We were talking yesterday, the beginning of the sound and the origin of the language and the words.
Yes, this imitation of natural sounds.
Imitation of natural sounds. Imitation of natural sounds. And thought is a sound. Thought is a sound. And what is sound? Sound is a vibration. So you can't do a thing about the thought. The thought has a value of its own. It has
its own life.
It has its own life. It has no life even if it's something like a matter. Thought
is a closed system with its own meaning.
No meaning. Thought. It has no meaning. Thought has no meaning. It is the thinker that invests the thought with some meaning. It is the thinker that gives importance to the thought. Makes into a very important thing. Without that, it has no meaning at all. It has no importance at all. So how to bring this, the self, the ego, the I, or whatever you want to call it, the center, to an end? The self will never bring itself to an end. It will never. That means it's death. So what are we to do? It has to die somehow. That will set in motion everything else. One death, that's all. Then you see, if somehow you come to a point of sinking, there it captures it, and that becomes your experience. And that is how you see the whole thinking changes. The conversions take place in that way, but it is still within the field of thought. Anything that happens within the field of thought has no relevancy at all. All that is irrelevant. It may have its own importance. You may be able to convince hundreds and thousands of people and convert them into Krishnamurtian line of thinking. That's all. It is his, it is not yours. When you discover it for yourself, it is something new. It is not his. As I explained to him the other day, I'm never tired, the Newtonian physics is valid, relevant only within the framework of Newtonian physics. Seeing the irrelevancy of it doesn't take you anywhere. If somehow you can break through that, then only the Einsteinian physics can come into being. And that has already become irrelevant today. People are afraid of seeing the irrelevance of the Einsteinian physics. But all that is within the framework of thought, within the field of thought. That is why you see you see the continuity. Without
go to one place and stay there. That's what they're going to say. I know it. And they might. What I want to know is, can I go to India? Can I go to places like that?
So why not? You see, it's not that bad. You have.
No, I don't know really. I
No.
didn't talk to Priscilla. I don't really know how these people have all come to such grief.
No, I think you will enjoy your visit.
Completely wasted.
Harold, you will like that.
Yeah.
It's not an expensive trip, and if you don't have anything,
I would love it.
well, why not?
I would love it.
It's really, it's not difficult at all.
No.
Just a little sensible.
That's all.
That's all.
Mm.
I don't regard it as hazard at all.
No, you see, Bombay is like New York. It's a big city,
Yes.
and you have all the comforts there.
Yes. But do you take inoculations?
Yeah, better.
You have to take the
Better.
inoculation.
Only the smallpox, that's all.
Smallpox and cholera.
Are required.
Cholera, yeah.
Not to enter
Yes,
India, but to
cholera.
re-enter Europe.
I never take cholera.
Oh, not to enter India.
Nothing is required.
Really?
They have it all there waiting for you.
You don't need it,
But the
You're
cover-
advised by the
But
airline.
it's not mandatory or obligatory. or
Not
whatever.
cholera. You talk to any doctors because the strains of cholera are probably different from the inoculations. In the hospital for tropical diseases in London, I met a fine young doctor, and he said, look here, I'll give you a poke, but please don't bother and don't come back, because the strain that we've got is entirely different from what is prevalent in India.
That's incredible.
How to avoid cholera then?
No cholera.
Don't-
She was awfully frightened, you know.
Yes.
And so
No.
she was all right.
You
And
don't
to
know.
re-enter Europe, you need it, and then
You know, this is only...
the airlines sell these health certificates, and so just for $3.
I never knew that.
Well,
Really?
Airlines.
You know what, Gary?
Airlines do that.
Yes. In Bombay, I went to Cox and Kings and I didn't want to have a revaccination. You see, I said, what can I do about this? So the assistant manager said, I'll take you. So he took me around the corner to a doctor and we didn't say anything. You see, nothing was said. So he swabbed the arm. So, but anyhow, nothing. But do you know that I went back to Sholapur and in the bungalow where I stayed, there was a smallpox suspect.
You have one.
So the doctor looked at my certificate and said, fine, just
Fine,
be vaccinated.
Just fine.
I don't know. Look here, you're going to die somewhere. I mean, you can
No, you're not going to die in India, we assure you.
Oh, no.
And even if...
Because listen, if Priscilla told me what she did, and I think it was very
What
foolish.
did she do?
Well, she went up to Assam, and they came back in an open jeep late at night down that deep valley, you know, and she didn't have enough on, and she got a chill, and then she went on to Madras, flew on to Madras in spite of it, and went to and dragged herself round and went to the talks, caught another cold.
Well, how would you get jaundice?
Well, in
By
this,
running
in this
down.
sort of condition, there was an infection about that.
No.
Yeah, if you run down.
Yeah,
yes.
you need to be under no uneasiness.
Not
It is a really an interesting country to visit.
very.
And
How about clothes? You don't need to buy
You-
tape there. You get them all there. The quality is good enough.
Very cheap.
It's cheap
This
and
one,
beautiful.
$3.
Yes. I had this
Yeah,
tape.
$3, yes.
You have friends.
Huh?
You have connections.
No.
So do you know.
No.
We'll take you there.
You
I'll
arrange for your stay 6 months, wherever you want.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, if
Just
you
come
want
as
to
I
come.
am then. Fine.
Just as I am without one plea.
It's not difficult.
Just as I am without
Where's one followers you need?
If you are ready to walk in a lion cloth,
Yes, I get a cloth.
why not a lion cloth? You will be welcome, most welcome.
Oh, I like that.
Well, why don't you go the other
Because I
direction?
know I'm going to
California.
I have to. you see.
California, here I come.
That's it. I have to now, but I think, you see, facing the east from California, I'm not going to stay in America. I'm just going
You
there.
have to stay there till something happens to California. Save it
That's
from
right.
down.
I'm going to save it from sinking under the
Sinking
sea.
under the sea.
And then after I've saved it, I go east.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend any more time in cold climates. I'm finished with them.
I know, I think it does.
You too.
Huh?
You've had enough for...
I don't know.
Where will you?
Maybe somewhere in mountains.
Uh,
I can't stand the heat in India.
I know, it's too
You
much.
can't stay in the plains.
So
I
that's
don't
too
like the
much you can't.
seacoast.
In November, there's no heat?
No, it's
No,
lovely.
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 November, December, January, February.
That's
Oh,
the best.
beautiful,
November.
beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywhere.
Then the monsoons come.
But
Well,
not
that's
nice
all
and
comes.
cold.
Nowhere except in the mountains or in Delhi, I suppose.
Delhi.
Even then in the daytime, you don't need woolen wear. In Madras, you don't need anything at all.
It's always warm.
Always
Madras is
hotter,
it's too
hot.
But me walking around in dhoti?
There, they did that, you burned a small piece of cloth.
You just wear white pajamas, broad.
And you'll be a very civilized man there.
That's right.
Everybody else around you is in what kind of clothes? If at all they can afford to buy a clothes, it's a small piece of cloth.
Oh,
Just like a napkin, you know. You just have a napkin.
They're not problems. You climb under a tree and get stung by a scorpion one.
You know, when I came down from the mountain for that man I met, you know, I thought, really, in a way, why go down? You see, the whole problem is solved. No problem of clothing, no problem of shelter, and very little of...
You don't have the problems of the three basic things in life. No problem of clothing, no problem of shelter, no problem of food. What else do you want? What else do you want? All your problems are solved. And then heaven is assured for you there.
Yes.
He's worried about his love letters.
Okay. You can make a little money on that, I assure you. If as you say you have 20 kilos of love letters, they will buy them by weight.
By weight, yes.
Lord, all these easels, I have 4 or 5 easels and oil colors and...
Sell them all in the market.
You can do that in India.
Of course, this
Yes.
is seriously
You can
true.
take the whole junk.
Take the lot of things.
Anything from abroad.
Yes.
You see, there is a price.
Yes.
Anything, it doesn't matter even if you take 2 pieces of rags from England.
Really so.
I'm not joking.
No, anything.
That's the mentality of the people
There you
there.
are.
We spent 3 hours. He was here for 3 hours. And Mrs. Boma also took part in the discussion. There were quite a number of people here.
It doesn't work.
Yes,
They look to it doesn't work.
no,
The second one. This one.
it's working. What is your tape recorder?
He is an intellectual man, but sometimes he is an intuitive man also. And he's sick sometimes.
Yeah.
And he's very open. It seems to me. It was a long talk, but still it was a little short. You see, to see just one time. And there were several persons together. But you don't know him before.
No, I met him only once.
Only one time.
And his friend Brian Mason.
Mason is here?
Not this
No.
year, not this year.
He's a very nice
Very
man.
nice
I
man.
very much him.
He's in, what is that place? Tourette in France.
À Tourette-sur-Loup. Oui, c'est ça. I know. À Tourette-sur-Loup.
Sanen and Tourette, and not far from Nice.
Yes, c'est tout près de Nice. Vous savez, c'est là.
Je viens ça.
J'ai passé mon enfance. With my childhood there.
Oh, it's a very beautiful place. Very
It
beautiful
is
place.
beautiful, this part. And still it has not changed so much.
Right.
No. Both has changed, but
very
not
soon.
well and but not so much because I am coming with my husband, and I want to show him the house when I live. And and I find the house, but it was changed. We live on the old house, and now it is flat. But and I see flats too low, and I knock at the door and I ask for the flat, and he comes and he sees. And I have found very easily. Yes.
C'est pas encore trop changé, je pense.
Not too much. No, not so much. Simple more. Yes, simple little more. But all village no. Good. You know the south of France?
Yes, we spent some days
We were
there.
in
Saint-Janet, not far from Tourette.
you know, it shall be interesting for you to go to Malaga.
Si.
Because near Malaga, very
It's a very difficult question.
No, it is a difficult question.
No, it's very simple. You see, this, when once you come into a state of being like this, you will be surprised that the images we have of peace, happiness, bliss, love, and all these things are not there at all. You see, there is
different.
there are no words to describe this state of being at all. Because there is nobody who is aware of this state and says that it is happiness, that this is love, that this is peace, that this is... And so
Si c'est quelque chose de nouveau, il n'y a certainement pas de mot existant pour le décrire, ça c'est certain.
So in order to communicate to somebody, you have to use a word. When you use a word, he doesn't understand because there is no word to describe this state.
C'est ça, ben oui, c'est ça.
The words, the thought cannot penetrate into this at all. And when the thought cannot penetrate into this and look at this state, there is no word with which one can describe this state of being. And so, if you talk of love, you have to qualify this statement, as Krishnaji does. Love is not this, not that, not that, not that, not that, and then what it is. And you also have to, by negative process, you have come to a point where you have to negate the negative approach also. It is very difficult. You come to a point brushing aside everything, and even then you see, even that has to be brushed aside again. And you have to negate even that, even that. And that is the thing which one cannot do at all. You see, there is once you come to that point, there is something else. You see, if you are lucky, somehow you see, you get out of that structure and you are once and for all free.
And are you very tired?
Not now. Now
it is better.
Now it's better. You see, I don't feel like talking to people because the talking is not going to help them at all. At all. And those who come here usually are full of Krishnamurti's ideas.
Yes.
And I can't say that it is nonsense because, you see, I followed that path up to a point. And then, you see, I had to take a leap on from there on. And so along with my whole past, my Hindu background, my religious background, I lived with the monks, I practiced all kinds of meditations, and all that, and all my past includes Krishnamurti also, and so that also is swept aside. So I cannot use those phrases at all, and when they use those phrases, I have to tell them that you are just repeating what he is saying there. It is not something real, it's not something vital. And they don't understand that at all. And the difficulty is to make them understand that there is a state, the nature of which they don't know at all. You don't know at all. You listen to Krishnamurti's talks there, you see, and he goes into it in detail. It's what we call casuistry. But you project an image.
Yes.
And he also gives the hints that it is bliss, that this is immeasurable, immense state of whatever you want to use, and that creates an image in the minds of the people. But actually, when once this structure inside of you somehow, by some luck or by some chance or by grace of whom I don't know, collapses, you find yourself, you see, in a state where you have no words to describe this state at all. So the only thing I can do is to describe this state. That there is such a thing, you see, that there is a state like this, and that's the only way to live. The way the people live is absurd. You see, they are not living the life at all. Because for the first time, the life has an opportunity to express itself, untrammeled by any. I have some difficulty to by any impediments. It flows very freely, and the senses operate in an extraordinarily sensitive way. For the first time, you begin to live the life.
Yes.
All right. The next question is, I want it. Yes, this is marvelous. It sounds marvelous, but so how can you want a thing that you don't know?
But it arrives suddenly.
Yes, it comes to it hits you like, you see, a lightning.
Yes.
And then you see the loosening process. The whole thing is shattered, and you find yourself a different person. You are a baby.
Oui, c'est ça, c'est comme ça que le court-circuit peut s'aider.
Everything you look at is different, and your senses operate in a different way. The eyes are different, and you look more, and
the relations are different.
The relations, everything is gone completely, totally. There is no relationship at all. What is the relationship? You see, she is here all the time. I look at her, I don't know who she is even. You see, if I want to, of course, the information is there. You are as innocent as a baby, but all the wisdom of the ages is there. If there is a need, the situation demands, you see, the use of this knowledge. You see, I knew that you would be here at 3 o'clock, and I thought perhaps you would have some difficulty, and so I was there waiting for you. When I see you, I recognize you, and that's finished. You see, and you are sitting there, and then who you are, I don't know. You see, but at the same time, if there is a need, you see, the memory is there available for me all the time. We met last year, we had lunch here. When I was there with you that day, you see, I
remember the lunch because it was very good. It was so good that I tell that to Krishnaji. I tell to Krishnaji, oh, I have a nice Indian meat.
J'ai tous les petits citrons.
Pickles.
The lime. At your place it was a beautiful lunch too, but he was not well.
I was going through all these changes at the time when I was
when
with
he
you.
came at your place, you remember? He just started this change.
C'est ça.
He just started, and then it went on during months.
Ça commençait à ce moment-là.
Oui, ça avait justement commencé. C'était tout au début.
Tout au début.
Il est venu chez nous à ce moment-là.
Alors après, je crois qu'il n'est plus sorti du tout depuis ce
Non,
moment-là.
je ne vous ai pas vu après.
Non,
nous sommes partis.
Vous êtes parti, mais il n'est plus sorti du tout parce que alors ça s'est vraiment précipité.
Bah oui, bien sûr.
You suffer much at this time?
Not now, no.
No, but before.
Yes, and
Terrible?
for 6 months, 3 months, I never moved out of my room. I stayed in France for 1.5 months and confined to my room. I didn't go out at all.
Un malaise général ou bien une douleur centralisée, enfin une douleur situable?
And the whole
In
thing.
the head or in the...
Oh, pain, terrible pain.
I know. Vous vous souvenez quand j'avais ma tête?
You see, every cell in the brain changes.
Oui.
Terrible. I suffered from this pain for almost 1 year.
The people that have not terrible headache don't understand what is a terrible headache.
This is not a headache. It's something terrible. For one full, I didn't know what it was. I was swallowing aspirin tablets. All over the head. I didn't have my head for years. For 1 full year, the whole head was missing all the time except the pain in the head. I didn't know what it was, and till this happened, you see. And then also for swellings all over here, the Hindus describe that there is a lotus here and this thousand petal lotus. You know, every muscle here swelling all over, and two big.
I understand very well that, you know. Very well. I have lived that.
Terrible
Long
pain.
times ago.
Terrible pain in the head and all over the body, and swellings all over the glands, what they call chakras, you know, in India. But the swelling here, here, yes, here. I still have this, you know, the colors. And I don't know if you can see this color.
Oui, ça a changé.
Oui, c'est ça.
You see here, this
C'est ce changement, bien sûr.
and blue color all over the body in different
Blue
colors.
like Shiva.
Shiva, yes, like. And then you see this, the lotus. It's not, I don't know if you can see that. Perhaps in the mirror you can see.
D'ailleurs, je trouve qu'il
This lotus.
il a un air plus rajeuni que l'année dernière. Je le trouve plus
You
jeune.
will say that you look younger than last year.
Je sais.
Yes.
I'm 1 year older.
No, you know always young.
I'm 51 years old now.
51.
Yes.
I am older than you.
Il est
53.
très jeune.
You're very young.
I am 53.
53.
Well, I'm old lady.
63.
63.
It is no important.
No, it's
No,
not
not at
important.
all.
Because there are very old people that are younger than young people.
Oh oui, ça bien sûr.
You see, I tell those who come here, you see, not all these details, you see, they don't, exaggerate.
Have you seen Krishnaji?
No. I haven't seen him. I don't have the feeling to see him. Although I've known him for a long time, I don't even know if he remembers me, but I haven't seen him. There is no need for me to see him. Well, what is the need for me to see him? I don't see. And there is nothing to talk. Mm-hmm. Maybe perhaps he'll be interested in how he got into that state. He may not even remember. But maybe he'll be interested. You know, I brushed aside all the descriptions that I read in the Hindu books as nothing worthless. But when it happened to me, I didn't even know. I didn't remember this could be a chakra, but the swellings in the body, they're all after all glands. You know, whether you call them a gland or a chakra, it's of no importance. There are ever so many dormant glands in our body, and all of a sudden they are activated. And the whole human body has flowered into something, into a beautiful flower. That's all. If human evolution has any purpose, I think the purpose of human evolution is to flower into a real human being for the first time. And the whole brain has undergone a transformation. There is no animal content in the brain anymore at all. The animal cravings has completely disappeared once and for all. And life expresses itself in an extraordinarily I don't even have the word. It expresses itself in its own way for the first time. Because you are the movement of the life, you are the life itself, and that life is a creative thing. There is the same thing that is there. The creative energy there is the creative energy here. This energy, nobody would understand when he uses the word energy. How many people understand that they have no idea of this energy at all? It's impossible for the mind to understand what this energy is that is in operation. This is the same creative energy. It's not that I'm going to create another universe like that, but the same thing is in the body. It has a different quality now. It has a different quality. Describing the state of being in inadequate terms doesn't communicate anything, and I have to tell them that there are no answers to the questions at all. And what happens? The questioner disappears. There are no questions of any kind at all. I don't ask any questions. And if somebody asks me questions, why does he ask these questions? These questions have no answers at all. Why are they concerned about these questions? And the next thing to tell them is that somehow, you see, the momentum of thought must come to an end inside of them. And the momentum of thought is not an ordinary thing. Millions and millions of years of momentum is there. And how can one bring the momentum of thought to an end? There is no how. But somehow, somewhere we have to begin the loosening process.
But before this transformation, you don't want to go to India.
I don't want to go to India at all.
You go?
I went there last year, and I want to go to India and spend there some time. Sometimes I feel that maybe it's worthwhile to live amongst these young people. I have quite a number of them around me. It must happen to somebody in the West. Unfortunately, this kind of a thing happens to only Indians. Why Indians? It must happen to somebody in the West, and perhaps he will come out with a different mode of expression. But there is one difficulty. You see, the very culture stands in the way of understanding the nature of this thing. Because you see, the stress is on the eye. The eye is very important. The strengthening of the eye. You see, eye is a very important factor
Not for mystical people.
Not for the mystical people, But mystical experience is still within the field of thought.
Yes.
So when the mind catches this experience, it is of no value at all, because it's mystical experience of...
It is not a mystical experience.
This is not a mystical experience at all. The thought is not involved.
It's an image, an illusion.
An illusion, mystical experience. The so-called religious experiences also are illusions. This is no experience at all.
But
because there is no experiencer who catches this experience.
Dans le sens où l'entend l'habitude, bien sûr.
There is only an experiencing. Experiencing without an experiencer is a thing very difficult for the mind to understand. So this experience is of the senses. They are extraordinarily sensitive. Whatever you look, whatever you see is experienced by the senses, and then there is no residue left. It's no accumulation at all. So every time I look at something, it's as if I'm looking at it for the first time in my life. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up as if I'm waking up for the first time in my life.
Qu'est-ce qu'on entend ici? C'est le train.
What is Jesus said?
Yeah?
Jesus was there for the wood. There's a kind of sea à bois. Je crois que c'est une scie à bois.
What is
It's a saw for the...
Yes, wood cutting. Electric saw. The weather is changing again.
Yes, it's great.
For 1 week,
It was
so good. And
C'était trop beau.
Heureusement que vous avez eu encore cette semaine, parce que c'était terrible.
Vous savez, maintenant, on va voir.
Maintenant, vous avez des mois et des mois.
Krishnaji will be back in Europe in March.
What do you say?
Krishnaji will be back in Europe in March.
In March in England, and in April in Paris.
Oh, April in Paris. Is he going to Amsterdam? No.
It is to me that yes. It's in Amsterdam in May. And afterwards in Stern, and afterwards in September in Roma.
And then he goes to India, I understand.
He don't go to India this year.
Next year.
Next year. But it seems to me that this year it shall be it begins by Czechoslovakia. You stay in the
Most of the time I'm here. Now the weather improves, perhaps I'll take walks to the start.
Yes. But you do long walks.
Yes, I do take long walks. And I'm doing yoga every day here, 1.5 hours in the morning.
You work with Krishnamacharya.
Yes, and Deskachari also.
He's nice.
Oh, he's a great teacher. As a teacher, Deskachari is just great.
I work with Iyengar.
And he was here this year, I understand.
Yes.
But he's very rough with the people, no? No?
Not with me.
No?
He's not rough with me and not... Il a changé. Ça dépend avec qui. c'est-à-dire avec
Avec
nous.
nous, tout à
Mais
l'heure.
he's not rough, and when I work with him and he speaks bas, non, très doucement, très bas.
Not loud.
Not loud.
Non, il a changé beaucoup, je trouve, avec vous.
Avec moi beaucoup.
Yes, changed his way of teaching.
Pas avec tout le monde.
With people.
Mais with me, book, but it is not well to do the yoga. It is not with a book.
No,
It is different.
the fundamentals you must learn from some teacher.
Yes.
And then perhaps it will be helpful.
Yes. When you work with yoga, you can read the book, but the book without a teacher first, it is not good. And you do much yoga?
No, but breathing, as I told you, only one or two postures, headstand and shoulder stand.
Half an hour? Headstand.
15 minutes.
15.
And breathing for 40 minutes I do. And throughout I do breathing.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, you see, the interesting thing is, when once you get into this state, you discover for yourself the origin of many of these postures.
Yes.
You know, sometimes I go into a peculiar state, what the Hindus call is the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, a complete total death for all practical purposes, except that the signs of life are there. When I come out of that, the body is so stiff, and it begins peculiar kind of bendings. You know, the body is the body has to get into its normal rhythm, and so many of these yoga postures, the body assumes these postures by itself, unvolitional. I don't do anything; it's just they start moving, and even the basis of the Hindu namaste.
Yes.
You see, the hands by magnetic force, as it were, they come together and stick here for a long time. And similarly, the breathing also. The breathing also is part of that. It's something natural to me. And in fact, most of the day I do pranayama, not although I do it every day for about half an hour, 40 minutes in the morning. When I go for a walk, you see, the breathing is going on. It has a different rhythm now inside of me. When I see something extraordinarily beautiful there, then there is this, I become aware of the beauty of the mountains or the sunset, or because I take a deep breath. It's a breathtaking view, and from that I become aware that there is something extraordinarily beautiful around me. I don't call anything beautiful. From the time I start in Sanen till I reach, the breathing process is going on all the time for different reasons. And it is a very interesting thing. You discover for yourself the origin of many of these yoga postures. That is perhaps the origin, and they make it so technical, and it's by practicing yoga you are not going to get there at all. If you are in that state, then perhaps it's easy for you to teach yoga.
Vous en faites, madame, un peu?
Non, moi j'en fais pas, c'est terrible. Moi je devrais en faire.
Oui, vous devriez.
Surtout la respiration.
Alors,
Il va douce au yoga. J'en ai fait un peu, mais il y a assez longtemps.
C'est important, vous savez, la respiration. C'est d'abord pour le silence, pour le calme. Et puis, se mettre sur la tête, c'est aussi très important parce que c'est la seule...
In certain, I say, you can tell that you do yoga. Sometimes you do it without even to know exactly what you... I mean, you get in these states in the midst of the yoga.
Yes, because I have no body consciousness at all, any time of the day or night. When I stand on my head, I forget that sometimes I go on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then suddenly I realize...
You fall down?
No, fall down. Then you see I come down. You see. I forget to count the breaths. Sometimes I do 16 breaths. Suddenly I forget the number. And then I go on. Because I have no feeling of the weight of my body at all when I stand on my head. It's like a rubber doll.
Ouais, il faut qu'ils prennent 50 minutes. C'est à faire.
J'ai à courte minute.
Yes.
When I have no time,
Well, some stroke of luck, or by grace of God, if you will, I have come by or stumbled into a new state of being. Rather, I would say I find myself awakened to a whole new way of life. My prayer used to be, "Oh God, if there is a God, why hast thou forsaken me?" It has now only changed into something like this. "Oh God, if there is a God," that bit, "if there is a God," still remains unchanged. Why hast thou chosen to bestow all thy divine favors on me? But to describe it in such terms as illumination, enlightenment, or even by the Sanskrit word moksha or liberation, or even to use those fanciful words, the first and last freedom, radical mutation, is to miss the point. It is into revealed religious truth, or even what we refer to as one beyond human intellect. There isn't anything mysterious about it. It is not what people talk of as the spiritual apprehension of truths intellectually incomprehensible. There is nothing mysterious about it. What has happened to me is a pure and simple physical phenomenon. Somehow, the machinations of the mind have come to a stop, and the senses have started functioning or operating in a very pure and simple way. That itself is an extraordinary thing. It is not a question of enlightenment spiritually or intellectually or in any form, or to use that vulgar expression, get religious. There is nothing to get converted to any belief or to any monastic state, or even to sit wrapped in meditation seeking absorption into God or the infinite or whatever you call it. It isn't a tale, imagining or accounting a world in which ourselves do not exist. It isn't an inexplicable affair, it is an explicable affair. There isn't anything to make a mystery of this. If any such thing happens to an individual, he is not concerned with the direct communion of the soul with God or any such thing. Then what then is the effect of this on conduct of an individual? It affects not only the conduct of the individual, but the totality of the human being. It is bound to affect others too. As the saying goes, you cannot light a candle and hide it under the bushel. What do I think of Krishnamurti? His state of being cannot be different from that of those of the sages, saints and saviors of men.
That is an operation. This is the same creator energy.
The abstractions he throws at people is a kind of trick, as it were, to trick you into that state of mind where the mind comes to a stop, a sudden stop, and where something can happen. But if you repeat those phrases It becomes a mere twaddle, a drivel, balderdash, gibberish. They haven't got much substance. You might as well quote a Bhagavad Gita or the Bible or even Quran or any one of the scriptures. That doesn't make any difference at all. You have added one more a new set of phrases. That's all there is to it. Why repeat those phrases? Why talk of flowers? Yes, this flower cult has become very fashionable. Even hippies have made it very popular. Haven't you seen those beautiful flowers painted in psychedelic colors on the pavements or the sidewalks or whatever you want to call it? This flower cult is indeed becoming very fashionable. You are talking of flowers. Look at the flower. Listen to the river. Watch the passing cloud.